So this might sound like a funny question, but would you literally need to be a psychic to be able to predict when interest rates are going to fluctuate?
You don't need to be a psychic, you just need to read a lot. And there's a lot of indications of where the interest rates are going just by, reading some articles.
Okay, and that's exactly what we're going to learn about today, ladies and gentlemen. Not necessarily how to predict interest rates when they fluctuate, but kind of getting a little bit of information to help us out. And who better to teach us than Walter Lepe, CEO of Lepe Tendwell Properties. He is the top agent in Golden Hills, San Diego, and he has 14 years of real estate experience. So you mentioned reading a lot, having a lot of valuable information. So let's start off with a little history lesson. Give me a general overview of the interest rates over the past few years.
Yeah, so before I go into the actual, where have interest rates been, what we could talk about first is, why they're important in selling your home.
Okay.
And it just comes down to affordability. The higher the interest rate, the less affordable that your home is. And that's basically a good thing that a seller should know, especially if they're thinking about selling their home.
Okay.
So if you go back 45 years to 1970s, they averaged 8% in that decade.
Mm-hmm.
The 1980s, they averaged 12.7% in that decade. And then in the 90s, they went back down to 8%. So imagine getting like a 12% loan or an 8% loan. Right now, it just sounds incredible, something that could never happen, but we've been there, right? In the 2000s, they went to 6%. Okay, and then in the last 6 years, in 2010 to 2016, they've hovered right in the 4% range. Okay, so that's where interest rates have been. So if you could convince a buyer, like, hey, buy my house because it's a really good time in history, I think you have an advantage as a home seller.
Right, you're like, look at the history, look, it's a good time. So essentially speaking, right now is the lowest that they've really ever been.
Correct.
So is there really any way of knowing if that's going to change?
Yeah, there is. So, we read a lot of things from experts around the country. Mm-hmm. The Federal Reserve is always talking about, they give the real estate industry a heads up as to when they're going to hike up interest rates.
Oh, wow.
Right,
okay.
and then generally during elections, depending on what happens, interest rates change. Okay. So this year, 2017, they're going to be going up. They're going to be going up, right? So, which means affordability will come down. Now, it's going to affect most homes under 500,000. Usually, homes over 500,000. The buyers, they're not worried about interest rates. Okay. They can pay a 5, a 6, a 7%. They usually have a higher down payment. Okay. But it does affect a lot of first-time buyers. So, if your house is in that range where it's a first-time buyer type of home, then you're probably going to be affected a little bit.
Okay, so say I were a buyer or a seller coming to you right now and saying, is right now a good time to sell my home? Should I do it? What would you tell me?
Well, if you're a seller thinking of selling your home, I would tell you, hey, it's an absolutely great time right now, simply because interest rates are still low historically, right? There isn't an inventory. And that's a lethal combination for your price to be, going up.
Got it. And we have, well, not necessarily confirmation, but you have a little bit of research that shows you that, interest rates probably will be hiked up over the next year.
Right.
So it is a good time to sell your home if you were thinking of it. So we've kind of talked about how they fluctuate, why interest rates fluctuate. Can you give me a specific example when you've been working with a client and the interest rate did fluctuate during that home purchase?
Yeah, definitely. I'm actually working with a client right now where we just started looking a couple months ago, and right after the election, what happened was the rates went up 0.25%. So she went from looking at a $440,000 home to all of a sudden she could only afford a $430,000 home. So potentially that's 10 grand out of someone's pocket that they could have.
And that's a lot of money.
10 grand is 10 grand.
Yeah, that's a big deciding factor.
And so just imagine if we were in escrow. Ooh. If we already found the house, negotiated a price of $440,000, and then the rate goes up and she can't afford it anymore, right? So that's how.
That'd be horrible.
Yeah, so that's a perfect example as to how interest rate could affect the price of a home.
Yeah, that is a really good example.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone, that actually concludes the Lepe Tendwell Properties Home Seller Series.
It's a wrap.
It's done, right?
Yeah.
But I would like to have some ending comments from Voltaire.
For sure. So, We at Lepe Tendwell Properties, one of our core values is education. So we love educating the client. We want you to learn because the more that you know, the easier it is on us, believe it or not, as real estate agents. So thank you for tuning in.
Yes, and final thoughts from me. Be sure to subscribe to our Lepe Tendwell Properties YouTube channel. Like our video, and if you have any questions out of the whole series, you're thinking of selling your home or you know somebody that's going to be selling their home in the next few months, comment directly below. One of the Lepe Tendwell agents will be happy to answer any of your questions. And again, we thank you so much for watching, everyone.